Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Biohacking Beauty podcast. Today, I'm incredibly excited to have with us an exceptional guest, Caroline Allen, also known as the Mineral Geek. Caroline comes from a corporate background, but a struggle with her health led her to an unexpected path, one that involves the miraculous world of plant-based minerals. Now, Caroline is a beacon of inspiration, symbolizing recovery, resilience, and a deep-seated passion for the marvels of mineral replenishment. She has delved deep into the various scientific fields from microbiology to agricultural, soil science, to comprehend the impact and importance of minerals on human psychology. She's also made significant strides in studying the implications of GMO foods, the preservative herbicide glyphosate, and its effect on our health. Not just content with her own recovery, Caroline has co-founded Beam Minerals, a company that provides liquid humic and fulvic mineral supplements, ensuring everyone can benefit from the healing power of plant-based minerals. In our conversation today, we're going to uncover the importance of minerals in our diet, the fascinating world of humic and fulvic substances, and the impact of modern depleted foods through agricultural practices on our health and, yes, our skin as well. Before we get into today's episode, I would like to share a review with you with one of our great listeners, saying the Biohacking Beauty podcast is a remarkable blend of cutting-edge scientific knowledge and health expertise. I've been a regular listener for quite some time now, and I have to say each episode has left me with a wealth of knowledge and fresh perspectives on skin health and wellness. Thank you very much for that. If you would like to help us here grow and reach more people and make sure that other people are getting this important information that we're putting out there, I would encourage you to subscribe, leave a review. Even one-word review would be greatly appreciated. And that's going to help also you, but also anyone who could use this information. So we would really appreciate it. But now, without further ado, please welcome Caroline Allen. All right, Caroline, welcome to the Biohacking Beauty podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Amitay. I've been hoping to have an opportunity to chat with you and geek out.
For sure. For sure. Listen, you are definitely, obviously, we love you personally, but also you are a very important person to have on, since you are kind of the oracle of minerals in our community as far as we are concerned. So obviously, I would love to, we have a long time, we're going to geek out on everything that's minerals and health and skin health. But what I'm interested in to begin with is kind of your origin story. How did you get to learn so much about minerals? So I'd love to start there and kind of figure out how you go to where you are now.
Yeah. Well, what happened to me is I was actually in the corporate world. I was a project manager of really large technology projects. Mm-hmm. And I burned out of that. I was probably about 10 years ago now. And at that time, I was in really ill health. I had flatlined adrenals. I'd had them completely flatlined for 2.5 years. And I'd worked with several doctors trying to heal that. I had really bad inflammation in my gut. I had realized 7 years prior to that I was extremely gluten intolerant, mm-hmm. and I had completely taken gluten out of my diet, but I was unable to get past the gut dysbiosis and bloating and elimination issues that I had. I also had really bad inflammation in my mouth with deep pockets, gingivitis, extremely receding gums, bone loss in my teeth. I had recurring sinus infections that every season I'd get a sinus infection that would last 4 to 6 weeks.
Wow.
I had recurring headaches all the time. I had sleep issues as well, where I would wake up five times a night. So you can imagine that all these things were really putting me in a really challenge. And I have spent literally hundreds of thousands of dollars on my health. And at that time, about 10 years ago, I met my business partner, Dan Howard, and he suggested that I take these mineral supplements that he had. They're liquid minerals and they taste like water, so they were easy to take. And I'm not really good at supplementation. I really hate taking pills. I don't swallow well.
Mm-hmm.
But these minerals, they were so easy to take, and I took them every morning. In fact, I woke up in the morning and went, "Oh, I want my minerals." I was excited to take them, which was
Mm-hmm.
a really new thing. And after 2 months, I went to my dentist to have my teeth cleaned, and she looked in my mouth after having my teeth cleaned. The dentist came in, she looked in my mouth, and she was surprised. She exclaimed, like, "Oh my gosh, what's changed? The pH in your mouth is totally different. The tissues no longer look red and inflamed. They're looking healthy and pink. When you had your teeth cleaned, we noticed there was much less, hardly any bleeding. What is going on?" And I thought, gee, I don't really know. And then I thought about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I think it's these minerals.
Mm-hmm.
So she said, well, keep taking them. So after about 4 months, I went to my naturopath. And before I went to the naturopath, I had my adrenal test and a saliva test. And when she looked at the results, she was also extremely surprised because at my last appointment, she had wanted me to take hydrocortisone, which I was
Mm-hmm.
not going to do. And when your naturopath tells you need to take hydrocortisone, you know it's serious. And I just wasn't going to do that. But they were 1/3 of the way up the chart with their natural sawtooth pattern. And I was like, wow, this is cool. This is actually like, this is really impacting me. So over the period of about 8 or 9 months, all these symptoms that I just described to you, all of them started to resolve. I started sleeping through the night. All my elimination and bloating and gut dysbiosis issues resolved. My mouth and teeth issues resolved. My teeth started remineralizing. All of the deep pockets in my gums went away. Now I have ones and twos.
Wow.
And I stopped having sinus infections. I stopped having all colds. Knock on wood, but I don't get colds and flus. I stopped having regular headaches. I do have some allergies, and I started to have more bandwidth. Most people who really understand allergies understand that a system that's under attack, that is in crisis, has very little bandwidth, which is one of the reasons people get very allergic to lots
Mm-hmm.
of things. So I started having less allergic reactions, greatly, greatly less, and then and my adrenals, which are completely healthy now. So
Wow.
so that's my story, and as a result of that, was really I was like, okay, how could these little cups of liquid that tastes like water have such an effect? And so I started researching, Amitay, and you as a person who loves to go deep down the rabbit hole and has really understood skin and all of the details about how skin works. You also have that curiosity.
Yeah, and what resonates to me out of all of it is that and we're going to get into minerals in a second, but really what resonates is like you were a person that was doing everything well, and there was another piece of the puzzle that's missing, and when you've added that piece, everything fell into order. It's not that you were no offense to anyone, a couch potato that wasn't doing anything and just took this one mineral and everything resolved. It's more of as a piece of a puzzle than a silver bullet, right? Like if we don't do anything and just take minerals, we're not going to have. I mean, if we don't brush our teeth and floss and whatever, and only take minerals, our oral health is not going to be optimal. If we have a job that's completely wreaking havoc on our stress mechanisms, we're not going to have perfect adrenals, etc. So I think this is a really important podcast because there are countless people that feel that they're doing everything well but are not getting the results that they want and need and deserve, whether it is their skin or whether it is any other organ. And obviously we talk a lot about how everything is reflected in the skin in this podcast. So yeah, again, that's like why I feel like it's such an important topic, that's really, I mean, not discussed. I mean, say that it's not discussed enough is I mean, it's not even close. So let's understand. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me mention something because you actually brought my attention to something I hadn't actually thought about, which is I think it's important for people to understand that I was a person who's very active. I did yoga, Kundalini yoga, which is a very intense type of yoga, 3 to 4 times a week. I I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke. I don't do any drugs. I and I eat. I'm not a sweet eater. I eat fruit if I eat sweet. I mean, this I of the kind of in terms of taking care of my body. I was always throughout all of this in the top 10% of people.
Mm-hmm.
So why was I so unhealthy? And I think a lot of people have that experience where maybe they have some chronic condition and now they're going to do this and they do all these things and they're still struggling.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And that is what I think missing in in allopathic medicine as a whole, in Western medicine, which is, I mean, what we're going to do is this: we're going to look at what bothers you, and we're going to resolve what is bothering you. But the problem with that is that it's the lowest form of treatment, because we are not wondering what are the chain of events that caused something to manifest itself. Most of the time, if something is bothering us, it's already severe. you know we're not, as creatures, we're evolved to be able to sustain a lot of malfunctions before there is an alarm that goes off. Imagine us living in, again, I know I go a lot to it, but imagine us living in a cave somewhere, right? Like, it's not like we are deficient in like a little bit of something, whatever that is. If we ate 10 grams less protein than we're supposed to eat that day, and our body's like, oh, I can't get out of the cave and sustain myself today. It really means something is completely off. And I think, and again, like, minerals for most people are not part of this equation.
Yeah, Amitay, I'm going to ask where we may have to edit this one thing out.
Yeah.
I'm getting an error message. When I've used Zencastr before, I've had that problem. It says quota exceeded error. You've run out of disk space to save a local backup. Does that matter?
I don't think it matters.
Clear out some disk space, but
I don't think it matters.
as long as it doesn't have to store on mine and then upload to you.
It does, but it doesn't show me a problem with you.
Yeah.
Local backup. It looks fine on my end.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, worst case, we'll have to.
Worst case. I think there are ways around it, but.
And I could see if I can, but it says I have to go into my disk space and stuff. Anyway, let's keep going.
Yeah.
And
all right.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So
let me just start with this reply to what you said before we are going to edit this out. There's actually a name for mineral deficiency that was coined by the World Health Organization, and it's called the hidden hunger.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people are experiencing that hidden hunger in their skin. They're struggling with skin problems, or maybe their skin is just dull, or they just don't have that vibrant, the collagen is not being produced, all of those things.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, in general, I think nutrients are very important for any tissue that turns over faster, that needs to hold things together. And what happens is that those connections can be efficient or inefficient, or they can be optimal or suboptimal. And when you have this combination of a tissue that needs to hold itself together and to allow some leeway, and a tissue that regenerates very fast or very often, a lot of things can go wrong very fast. So we can see it whether it is tendons, ligaments. We can see it obviously in the gut, and we can also see it in the skin, where all of those can have severe implications if we're not replenishing them well. So let's dive a little bit into minerals and how do they exactly work in the body.
Yeah. So what I like to do is change people's paradigm about thinking, about how they think about their body, because we tend to think about our body as, tissue, organs, structural elements, bones, and then, reproductive systems and cardiovascular systems and hormonal systems and things like that. But one of the things that I want people to do, just as they're listening, is realize that every single part of your body is made of cells.
Mm-hmm.
You have about 37 trillion cells in your body. And you actually have more than that. I probably have about 37 trillion. A larger guy could have up to 150 trillion cells in their body. Okay. And here's the key thing, one of the biggest ahas that I had. Inside every single cell, there are these energy generating powerhouses called the mitochondria. I'm sure you've spoken about this a lot on your podcast. And in a single skin cell, let's say on your arm, you might have 40 mitochondria in a single cell. Okay. In your heart, 4,000 to 5,000. In your eye, 40,000. Okay, in a single cell. And these mitochondria generate all of the energy in your body, including all of the energy required to regenerate your skin cells.
Yeah.
And what fuels a mitochondria? There are two things: amino acids and minerals. Now, your body makes a lot of amino acids, but it makes no minerals. You have to ingest all of the mineral content that your body needs. And when you think about, I ask people to just look at their body, every single structural element of your body, in fact, everything in your room, everywhere where you're sitting, look around, everything is made of cells.
Mm-hmm.
Is made of minerals. Not cells. Everything is made of minerals. All the structural components on Earth are made of minerals. If you took all of the water out of your body, you'd be a little pile of minerals.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting? To me, that's phenomenal. So that was just this huge aha. So what happens when you don't have enough minerals? And just so we're clear, most people are operating with about less than 40% of the minerals that they need in their body.
Wow.
That the mitochondria in their cells need. Okay. So if you're in a room and you have a light, just dim it down to about 40%. That's how most people's bodies are operating.
Wow.
40%. And that's 40% if you actually take care of yourself, take a few mineral supplements, that kind of thing. So what happens when the mitochondria doesn't have the minerals needed? And it's not just the 5 minerals that people think about, or electrolytes. We think about potassium, calcium, magnesium, sodium. There's a few more that we think about. Zinc, because of the pandemic, we're all aware we need zinc. But there's actually a huge spectrum of minerals, and they call them micronutrients, that you need, like copper and boron and manganese and molybdenum, things that you would never take. Some of those you might take in pill form. Selenium is really important with skin health, as an example. Mm-hmm. So some people do take these things, but your mitochondria inside your cells need a full spectrum of minerals, because at each stage of its life cycle in this mitochondria, it requires a different mineral as a cofactor with an amino acid to make it past that portion of its life cycle. If it doesn't, what happens is it moves into what is called oh darn, my brain just had a moment. I'm going to stop so you can edit this out. Okay. The word is my brain just won't work right now.
But basically it moves to a state.
I'll start again.
Okay.
So when the mitochondria do not have these minerals available, it can only generate about 1 unit of energy, as opposed to 12 units of energy that it can generate when it has all those minerals available. So this is a real problem in your body. And what happens when your body on every level cannot generate enough energy is it starts to it starts to focus on the basic, fundamental, most important things like your heart, like your lungs, like your blood. And what happens is your skin and your nails and your hair, they they start to be affected first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And then that's kind of what we were talking about a lot on this podcast, which is when something goes wrong, your the organs that are mainly used to communicate, and I mean it's a paradox, right? But the organs that are meant to communicate vitality, they're the first to kind of be sacrificed, which is funny because I mean you would think they have other functions. Like you would think our hair and our nails and in our skin, obviously they have other functions, but what the body doesn't do, like the body feels uncomfortable lying. It's like, oh, it's probably going to be better for me if I looked healthy and youthful, and maybe I can reproduce and fool people enough for them to reproduce with me, and later I can die off. But the body doesn't really work that way. It's like, okay, I got to tell people I'm not that healthy and that I have things going on with me. And that's a little bit of a funny.
That's,
Uh,
that's why they make makeup.
exactly. Well, aesthetic procedures, makeup, hair transplant, whatever it is. Yeah, definitely. Um, so we have an ability to kind of derive minerals off of either plant derived or from
Mhm.
animal organs, right? How do
Mhm.
normally people evolve to get minerals?
Yeah. So one of the things I want to really help people understand is you cannot get enough minerals from the foods you eat.
Yeah.
Today, it is not possible because of production farming methods, and because of the way our foods are washed and cleaned and everything, and because which they should be because of the pesticides and herbicides we use
Yeah.
in production farming. Even if you eat organic and eat really, really well, you cannot get enough minerals from the foods you eat. So here I was, a person who eats really, really well, takes care of my body, and still I was extremely mineral depleted. So you need to supplement. And so the first thing that I want to help people understand is number one, most of us tend to think of our body like a car. Oh, I'm depleted of magnesium, put in more magnesium, just fill the tank up. I probably depleted in potassium. I need electrolytes, so fill the tank up.
Yeah.
And the body doesn't work like that. It's the system of mineral replenishment is very, very complex, and it's not at all like a car. Like you fill up the gas tank and your car just guzzles all the gas. No,
Hmm.
it doesn't work like that. So we could go into some about how that replenishment system works. That was the biggest aha for me.
Hmm.
Because I kind of thought that like too, like, oh, I need minerals. Well, I'll just take a whole bunch of minerals. I look at people in the mineral aisle at the pharmacy or wherever they're getting, the health food store, and they're picking up bottles of, selenium and zinc and, whatever. And they're going, oh, and calcium. And they're like, oh, and I'm just thinking about, they're going to go home and they're going to have this huge pile of pills and they're going to try and take those every day. And it's not going to work. So
And
let's,
why is that?
yeah. So first of all, let's think about the body. And let's think about the minerals that you get. Most mineral supplements are made from rocks, shells, and bones.
Hmm.
And think about your digestive tract, a human digestive tract. How well do you digest those things? Not very well,
Yeah.
right? So the most important thing to think about when you're going to take a mineral supplement is how bioavailable is it. And there are three stages of bioavailability. The first is digestion. So when you use a mineral, when you eat a mineral that is made from rocks, shells, and bones, you only digest maybe 10 to 12% of it.
Hmm.
And for a mineral to be absorbed into your bloodstream, it has to be digested all the way down to its ionic components, its chemical components to be absorbed.
Hmm.
And the lining of your gut is lined with these finger-like structures. They're called villi. They look like fingers. And each one of those villi is lined with these epithelial cells, and each one of those epithelial cells is lined with receptors. And this was a huge thing for me to when I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, no wonder those minerals don't work, because each receptor is specific to a specific element. So you have a lot of magnesium receptors because you need a lot of magnesium. And you have much smaller amount of receptors for molybdenum and selenium and chromium and zinc and manganese and boron and copper. You see, you have receptors for all of those. But when you take let's say you take a capsule, a 240 milligram capsule of calcium that's made from bone or shell, let's say from shells, and you put it in your gut. Now, you only digest down to their chemical components, maybe 10 to 12% if you're lucky. And now that 10 to 12% has to find those receptor sites.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, maybe some of it does actually, maybe 8% of it actually gets absorbed into your bloodstream. Now, here's the big, huge thing most people don't understand. Most minerals, there's a few such as iron that do some duty in your bloodstream, but most minerals have to get inside your cells all the way to the mitochondria for them to have their effect.
Yeah.
And so now you have 8% of that calcium in your bloodstream. And how does it get into the cell? Now, that's the key. That is the key thing. Most people, because they don't have very efficient, that process is called assimilation. So you have digestion in the gut, then you have absorption into the bloodstream, and you have assimilation into the cell.
Mm-hmm.
People only assimilate maybe 5% of that mineral content that they put into their mouth. So that big passel of pills that you're taking, or those powdered electrolyte drinks that you're using, same thing. They have to be digested, they have to be absorbed, and they have to be assimilated, because most of us don't have very efficient assimilation engines. We only get about 5%.
Yeah, understood. Okay, so this is the challenge that we have with minerals. And I want to talk a little bit about the solution that is humic and fulvic biomass. So,
Yeah.
so how do these help us? Because that's kind of what you discovered, right?
Yes, so, and that is the cool thing. So why did my health turn around?
Mm-hmm.
Why were these minerals suddenly able to infuse my system and get digested, absorbed, and assimilated? Well, here's the cool thing, is that when you think about that 37 trillion cells that your body is made up of, they actually are evolved from the earth.
Yeah.
So you are an earth-based being that evolved from the earth. And the interesting thing is that there is a natural technology to support mineral replenishment in all cellular systems on Earth, and that is called humic and fulvic.
Mm-hmm.
These are natural substances. You often hear of them as humic and fulvic acids, which can be confusing to people. And if we want, we can go down a little bit further. Let me tell you where they come from.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine an entire rainforest back when the dinosaurs lived, and it decomposed over millennia into this mineral-rich crystalline substance called humate. And inside of humate, there are these two molecules. One is called humic, and the other is called fulvic. And they support both, they enhance and support uptake of all nutrition into the cells, and they also greatly support detoxification of all cellular systems. So we can talk into how they work and why.
Yeah, definitely. So let's separate the two. So they're from the humus, right? They're from that layer in the ground.
Humate.
Humate, sorry.
There's also other forms like peat and shilajit from the Himalayas. These are other forms of the same humic and fulvic.
Yeah, that's normally the one that most people are familiar with, shilajit, right? Because it is basically that but translated into a ceremonial or indigenous supplement, if you would, and that kind of.
Exactly. Let's just say that the medicine people of that region of the world understood the power of the humic and fulvic in the form of shilajit, and it's used widely for healing in that region of the world, and it's come to the West. People know about it. The problem with this is it tastes really bad.
Also, it's very hard to deal with. You talked about water tasting, as you said, but also the ability to just pour it into a little cup and drink it. Shilajit is complicated. It's very sticky. Uh,
And it
you get
requires
it.
digestion,
Yes, I
which
mean
is
it's
yeah,
a great idea, but again, if there is an easier way to consume it, then great. So let's separate the two.
yeah.
We have humic and fulvic acids. What's the difference between them, or how they function as well?
So let me talk about fulvic. Fulvic is a very small molecule. It's much smaller than a cell, and it is Mother Nature's mineral replenishment technology. It is a key component. It's a flavonoid, and we've all heard of that term. But what is a flavonoid? A flavonoid is an intercellular transporter, and fulvic is the most effective intercellular transporter. And what it does is it carries 60 times its weight of nutrients and mineral content that cling to it because it's has such a strong electrical charge. It carries those across the cell wall
Mm-hmm.
into the cell, and then it does what no other flavonoid or any other molecule on Earth does. It changes its polarity, and it's being studied around the world. And when you start researching that, you get into quantum mechanics and quantum singularities, all sorts of things. It's quite magical,
Mm-hmm.
if you will. And so it changes its polarity, and when it does that, all the minerals and nutrition that have clung to it fall off inside the cell. Now they're available to the mitochondria for energy generation.
Mm-hmm.
Then what clings to it? Biowaste, heavy metals, environmental toxins, free radicals, and it carries those out of the cell. Now, one of the interesting things about fulvic is that most things that travel through the cell wall require a certain receptor to do so. The fulvic is evolved, and your cells are evolved to accept any fulvic goes straight through. Any passage that opens up in your cell wall, the fulvic goes straight through, either
It's like
direction, in
it's
or
like
out.
Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. You don't need a lock, you don't need a door. Whatever opens the window, he'll get there.
Great reference. Exactly. Exactly. It's like the super agent of flavonoids.
Very
Okay.
interesting.
I love that. So it carries the nutrients in, drops them off, carries the biowaste and toxins out, and then it changes its polarity again, and those biowaste, toxins, etc., fall off into your bloodstream. Now we have the symbiotic relationship that humic and fulvic have. So the humic molecule is very different than the fulvic. It's a very large molecule, much larger than a cell. It hangs out in the bloodstream, and it's one of the strongest electrolytes known to man.
Hmm.
And what it does is it chelates with heavy metals. It binds with the so the fulvic has dropped these things off in the bloodstream, and now the humic molecule roams through the blood and is picking all these things up: heavy
Yeah.
metal, biowaste, toxins. It adsorbs glyphosate, which glyphosate is the herbicide that's used on genetically modified foods that we all eat that
Yeah.
creates major dysbiosis in the gut and all sorts of other problems. And humic is one of the one substances that they know of thus far that will actually adsorb it, keep it from absorbing into your tissues, and break it down and carry it out of your system. It's extremely effective for detoxification. What I try to help people think about is, there's been environmental toxins forever.
Mm-hmm.
Back when there were volcanoes, and there were a lot of environmental toxins,
Yeah.
and these cellular systems had to have some form, some way to detoxify, to get these toxins out of the systems, or they wouldn't grow. So Mother Nature created humic, this incredible detoxification agent that can live inside the system
Mm-hmm.
and constantly be removing. One of the cool things, there's another piece that the humic does, which is it interacts with the cell wall, and it increases cell wall permeability. So it opens more channels in the cell wall so that then that fulvic can carry more nutrients in and more toxins out.
Interesting.
And so when you think about using this, using both of these, what they both do is all of the other supplementation, all of the other nutrition that you're putting in your mouth becomes more bioavailable because it enhances this assimilation process of nutrients into the cell. And it
Yeah.
also enhances the overall detoxification process. The beautiful thing about the humic molecule is that most detoxification agents require a certain elimination channel to be open. Maybe it's the liver or the kidney. And the humic uses every elimination channel. Your
Very interesting.
tears, your sweat, your saliva, your snot, your breath, your rubbing your hands together. Of course, your feces and your urine.
Yeah. I mean, that's very interesting to us as a company because normally, I don't know how many skincare companies are going to be interested in better shuttling of nutrients into the cell and detoxification pathways. Because normally, what you get in skincare is just maybe something that will irritate some kind of renewal and in hydration, etc. But for a company like us, that what we're trying to do with molecules like NAD precursors, senolytics that we have here behind me, in a in a in a little open whatever thing that we have behind us that explains it. But all of those things, they have to get into the cell, and the better they get into the cell, the better results someone's going to have with our products. So for us, it's extremely important to make sure that people are supplementing well with those humic and fulvic acids, because this is what will allow cells to receive the benefits of Young Goose products. So there's incredible synergy there.
And one of the things that people, and I know you deal with this a lot. I use your products and they have radically helped my skin health. By the way, I love them. But
Thank you.
one of the things when I think about skin, I think about hydration.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I want people to think about is the difference between irrigation and hydration. So you drink a ton of water, and what you're actually doing is flushing minerals out of your body. You're flushing.
Yeah.
Gardeners, marijuana growers, people like this, they know what flushing means. It means actually when you want to get the minerals and the excess stuff out of your system, you drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
Okay. But what we're trying to get to is hydration. And the beautiful thing about fulvic and humic is they greatly enhance hydration into the cells. And when you think about your cells, just look at your skin, because
Yeah.
your tissue is the cells.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think when we say to people, your body is 70-80% water, that's a nice story. But really, water in the body are not stored in a form of water. They're in crystalline structures, and
Yeah.
for for the overwhelming majority of them. And this crystalline structure relies on minerals to form. So this is a very gentle dance between the amount of minerals we have in the water we drink. And if we obviously drink mineral depleted water, we are to some extent causing more harm than good, especially over time. I mean, it's very known in the athletic world, any sports that is reliant on body weight will have people cutting weight. And actually, one of the ways to cut weight is to flush your body, is to flush your kidneys, flush your body. And you do it by drinking gallons of
Water.
water. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So there's several things that came up from in my mind when you're talking. You know, that is one of the main reasons that we're experiencing mineral depletion like throughout all humanity, is because we're drinking filtered and bottled water. So I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, nobody was coming off the sports fields. None of my friends, and I wasn't coming off the sports field with cramps, with leg cramps or aching legs, and now lots and lots of kids, we hear from the parents constantly about the kids coming off the soccer field or the basketball court with cramps. I was just speaking with a young athlete. He's a Title I basketball player, and he has had to stop practicing because he has such bad cramps.
Wow.
Cramps are a sign of deficiency. How would you know if you're mineral deficient? When I asked several doctors that, I'll ask a doctor, and they say, because they're coming to see me. Meaning what they're saying is because they're standing up, because they're walking around.
Yeah.
Every person is mineral deficient. Now, I've been taking our minerals for years, and when I get a scan, people go, oh my, the person I go to is always like, wow, this is so great. She just never gets those scans. And it's not only about the quantity of minerals, it's about the ratios. And that's one of the important things for people to realize, again, because your body doesn't work like a car. You can't just fill up the reservoir of magnesium or potassium. You need to be taking a balanced form of minerals. And that's one of the cool things about these plant-based humic and fulvic minerals is that they're naturally formatted.
Mm-hmm.
Same way your body is formatted. So you have a lot of magnesium, calcium, potassium, et cetera, and you have smaller amounts of manganese and boron and all these others, and that's exactly in that same formulation is the way that the humic and fulvic
So,
are formulated.
what I'm kind of very interested in is the process in which these fulvic and humic um, acids, how are they created exactly?
Yeah. So it's actually really, you mean like a millennia ago when they were created?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually really interesting. It's a very, very specific set of microbes. So I have this great video that I sometimes show, and it's a forest being broken down
Mm-hmm.
from leaves and sticks and everything back into its mineral content. And it takes bugs and it takes billions, trillions, quadrillions of microbes to break these down. However, there's a very specific set of microbes and that in a very specific um, uh, process. So one microbe eats some leaf material and then it excretes something.
Mm-hmm.
And then another microbe comes and ingests that excretion. And then another microbe comes and eats that whole microbe, like ingests that entire microbe. And it's a very, very specific process with a very, very specific set of microbes, which is why it's so difficult to recreate in a laboratory environment. In fact, they have not been able to figure out how to do it in any kind of large scale. There are some people who have done it by producing algae. And again, we should clarify these are freshwater plants. Humic and fulvic only come from freshwater plants, which is why people often ask me, what's the difference between taking, salt-based minerals or, that either come from sea minerals or sea plants or come from salts. And I say one of the fundamental things is they don't have the extra capacities of the humic and fulvic, meaning that nutrient, the flavonoid capacity of the fulvic and the detoxification, elimination capacity of the humic.
Yeah.
They don't, so they are mineral content, and your body can absorb them, but they don't necessarily get assimilated well. And they also are not necessarily full spectrum. Just look on the label. And you'll see, in the plant-based minerals include 70 plus minerals, plus some amino acids in the humic component, and some other a few vitamins as well, actually, in trace amounts.
So let's understood. It's very, very interesting. So let's talk about the easiest way I found to consume these materials complexes, which is with your company, B Minerals. I mean, we go through a bottle. It's a pretty big bottle. We go through a bottle probably in a month and a half, I think. And we have two product. Well, we have three. We have the humic and fulvic together. Only the fulvic, and we also have these little tablets, which that's what we travel with.
Yeah,
But the capsules, yeah. So go over what is the relationship that someone should have with those products, since I think we've definitely covered why they are important or why they would serve the individual. Now, how do we consume them?
Yeah. So, and one thing I want that before I go into that, I'm just going to say one thing, which is if the people listening do one thing for their health, one thing, taking a Humic and Fulvic full spectrum trace mineral supplement it's the foundation. And I talk with health professionals, I talk with other supplement producers and brands, et cetera, and experts in all sorts of different fields. And every single one agrees that without the minerals, whatever they're doing is not. It's not
Yeah.
going to do. Without the minerals, you can't really help somebody. I mean, you can help them a little bit, but if they start taking minerals on the from the inside, all of your stuff is going to greatly, like, it's like literally you guys, when I took your products and started using them on my face, in 3 days there was a market difference.
Yeah.
So
But that's that missing link, right? You're just plugging in this one extra thing and everything starts to work better, but it is because you're doing everything else well,
exactly.
which is very important. That's this podcast, right? What is this podcast really? This podcast is basically like an evil plan of making our products work better, but we couldn't do it with a blog. With one, I mean, you could do it with a blog technically, but we couldn't do it with just one article. We couldn't do it. We needed some kind of open platform where we guide a person through our blueprint of how people should behave in order to get the best results from the product, right?
Yes,
And we're
yes.
not just bringing we're very guarded about this program, right? We're not just bringing people, we don't take money from people, we're not just bringing people who are, sometimes they're our friends, but we're not bringing all our friends just to talk about whatever they have. We literally bring only a product that we believe would improve the person's life, the person who's listening to this podcast. And obviously we try to keep it skin related. So that is why kind of you're here, because everyone in the company drinks the two products that we talked about. Everyone saw a marked change in the way their body behaves. So how exactly do we consume them, and
Okay.
what should we consume on a daily basis?
Yeah. So at Beam Minerals, we have two, we call them our flagship products.
Mm-hmm.
Together, we call them our advanced micronutrient support set. Okay. And one is called Electrolyze.
Mm-hmm.
That is the fulvic supplement. And the other is called Microboost. And that is the humic supplement. Now, just to be clear, our Microboost does have some fulvic in it. The main reason it has some fulvic in it is because the fulvic helps the Microboost stay completely ionized and in suspension, so you never have to shake the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason it has both. Okay. But having these two together, if you drink a half an ounce of each every day, that's all the mineral and electrolyte supplementation you need. If you're an athlete, or you sweat a lot, you work outside, or you go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, you can also use the Electrolyze as your electrolyte replenishment. So you would take a half an ounce of your Electrolyze and Microboost as your foundational amount. But then if you need to remineralize that filtered and bottled water you're drinking, take an extra half a cap of Electrolyze and put it in your water. I'm going to tell
I didn't know that. I wasn't
yeah,
doing it. I should do that.
yeah, that is so. Think about all that water you're drinking that's lacking minerals.
Mm-hmm.
Just add a little bit of electrolytes, and there you've got it. Boom,
Yeah.
fantastic. And the mineral content of that fulvic, when you drink it, it's immediately bioavailable. Doesn't require any digestion. It starts absorbing through your mouth, your throat. So you're getting electrolyte replenishment immediately and constantly.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to help people understand is they really should consider stopping using the megadose formatted electrolytes that they are using. These are electrolytes that are measured in milligrams,
Mm-hmm.
megadose formatted. Okay, they create imbalance in the gut, and they actually exacerbate your mineral deficiency issues because they further throw your ratios out in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
Gut has to eliminate the excess when you're actually trying to absorb and assimilate because you're
Got
in
it.
deficiency. Okay.
Very interesting.
So the Electrolyze becomes your electrolyte replenishment tool, and the Microboost becomes your tool for immune system support. And let's say you go out and you drink some alcohol and you want to detox so that you don't have a hangover in the morning. You have a glass of wine, you go home, you take an extra half a cap or even a quarter cap of Microboost, you wake up in the morning, no hangover.
Wow.
now your body has this tool to get rid of those toxins. If you are gluten-free and you go out to a restaurant, you get glutenized, or maybe you get food poisoning, or you feel a tickle in the back of your throat because you were around some little kids and you're starting to get a cold. Your body is saying, "Uh-oh," you just take a little bit extra micro boost.
Yeah. Interesting. And again, that's something we do every day. I'm in love with your product. So
Thank you.
that's a good, I learned something about extracurricular usages and the
Electro boost.
Electro Boost. Yeah.
Yeah. So the capsules are just a way to, they are like taking electrolytes and microboost together.
Mm-hmm.
They have two uses. One, when you travel, because it's really hard to travel with big bottles of liquid. Yeah. We do have a travel pack. I'm letting people know it's a 3.4 ounce thing of each, plus our little spray, which is great if you're going on a short trip, maybe 6-7 days. That can be useful. But the capsules are the most convenient for travel. The other way we use the capsules is if you are a performance athlete, a true performance athlete, and you're looking for foundational kind of a time release kind of support, we suggest taking a capsule every day plus the liquid.
Interesting. Good. Yeah. You see, I learned another thing. Okay, great. Listen, we are about to wrap up here, but it's very important that people will follow up. We're all distracted. This is a distracting world. So the most important is that people follow up on the information that they got here and start implementing it. So where can people find out more about the benefits of B minerals? Where can they connect with you? Where can they get the products? And obviously we're going to have everything in the show description, but I would like, if anyone's driving.
Of course. So they would go to beamminerals.com, and I'm pretty sure they can use Young Goose as a discount code for 20% off. And yeah, that's about it. Just beam like beam of light, beamminerals.com.
So that's 2 M's, right? Beam, and then there's minerals. So it's
like Young Goose with 2 G's.
Exactly, yeah. We get it wrong all the time. By mistake, we put 1 G or something. Anyway,
actually an acronym for best electrolytes and minerals.
Wow, I didn't know that. Cool. Well, listen, Caroline, this was an incredible podcast. Obviously, we have some things that we're cooking together, no pun intended, and more on that in the future. We'll do a podcast about that when we get closer to completion. I super appreciate the time that you gave us today. This is a very important topic, which I am sure that there are a few people that are listening to this podcast that their life are going to be improved for the better, change for the better because of them listening to this podcast. So I can't thank you enough.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to have an opportunity to speak to your community. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, guys, thank you very much, and we'll see you here next time. Goodbye. Definitely an enriching conversation with Caroline Allen today. We are walking away with a better understanding, I feel like, of the crucial role that minerals, especially fulvic and humic acids, play in our overall health. Now, let's shift gears and answer some listener questions that are not necessarily related to today's topic, but equally significant in our biohacking and skincare journey. So our first question comes from a person called Biohack Master, which I thought it's cool. He asks, what is the most important skincare step that people often overlook? Which is a great question. The most overlooked step is actually maintaining our skin's moisture barrier, which is very similar to preventing leaky gut for that matter. This includes obviously not over exfoliating or using harsh products, but instead focusing on using products that maintain skin barrier and even improve it, like, for example, our bio barrier serum. That's what it does. It repairs the skin barrier and prevents what we call leaky skin. Our second question is from Glow Getter, who wants to know how do lifestyle factors like stress and sleep affect our skin? Well, stress and lack of sleep can significantly affect our skin. They can cause hormonal imbalances, which can lead to breakouts, speed up skin aging, and even worsen conditions like eczema, psoriasis, dermatitis, etc. So it's not only about what you apply on your skin, obviously, but also how you care for your overall health and well-being. Lastly, we have a question how does the adaptogenic HA firming boost from Young Goose support skin health, which is a wonderful question because anyone who used it knows that it's a very hydrating serum and it optimizes hydration levels. But really what it does, it increases the ability of cells to maintain hydration, and we can actually double the ability of skin cells to hold on to moisture in about 11 days of using this serum. And with holding on to more moisture, we can also hold on to more active ingredients. So that's very, very important. We can actually improve how the skin function, how much energy it has, and how it also handles damage from UV radiation, artificial light, blue light, and other environmental stressors. So remember, if you have any questions and you'd like to have it answered here on the podcast, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen to the podcast, and we'll be sure to answer it in the appropriate episode or even the next episode. Thanks again for tuning into the Biohacking Beauty podcast. Remember, what we're doing here is making sure that you function optimally in order for it to manifest itself in your skin. So until next time, thank you very much and take care.